Thank you, Chair. So, members, you're hereby summoned to the monthly meeting of Business and Culture, held in the Guildhall, hybrid and socially distanced meeting, both remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council chamber. I just take the roll call. So, Alderman Morris Devaney.
Here.
Alderman Darren Guy.
David.
Alderman David Ramsey. Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Raymond Barr. Councillor Shauna Cusack.
Here.
Councillor Gary Donnelly. Councillor Rory Farrell.
Here.
Councillor Sean Harkin. Councillor Conor Heaney. Councillor Patricia Logue. Councillor Kieran Maguire. Councillor Damien Mullen. And Councillor Snowy Bar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Due to the attendance at this meeting, you are consenting to be able to be filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the Council privacy notices may be found on the Council website. Okay, that now takes us on to item 4, which is the declaration of members' interests. I want to declare an interest first in item 19, a pecuniary interest. If any other members have any interest, declare they can do it now. Or if it arises during the course of the meeting. Okay, thank you. Item 5 is chairperson's business. I have one item, and I've been received a request, which I'll come on to in a second. I wanted to raise just the issue and my disappointment as chair of this committee at the ongoing wrangling over the protocol and the outcome of Brexit, particularly by the British government. The statement that's been made today by the Minister Frost is again causing further angst and confusion and makes it much more difficult for this committee and for other committees in other council areas to get on with the business of operating the protocol and trying to bring prosperity and employment to this place through some of the advantages that the protocol gives this council and the executive and citizens generally. So it's just to make that point and to express my certainly disappointment at this ongoing frustration of Brexit and the outworkings of Brexit is continuing to make everyone's job much more difficult, and I hope that comes to an end soon. I was contacted by Alderman Devaney in relation to he wants to raise an issue that's probably not appropriate to this committee, but there's a degree of urgency about it and seriousness about it that I felt I should allow it. So if Alderman Devaney wants to come in now.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in. And as your previous discussion, probably it's hard to get the right committee. But I wanted to raise the issue, Chair, and around rural transport for some of our children and students travelling to school. Now, I've been contacted by a number of parents in around the Donaghmana, Artie-Garvan area, that the transport for getting their children to school in the morning and back has been off since Thursday. And I was informed early on Monday morning about it because I had frustrated parents who had, some of them who had driven 1.5 miles for to leave their children off to go to school and then went on to work, as some generally do, and then to the frustration then that the bus service wasn't available. Now, I spoke to the Education Authority regarding this issue, and look, I think it's a wider issue just in the two areas that I have spoken to. They do say that they have difficulty in getting drivers for buses, but they had sort of assured parents that there would be a driver available for that area in the Monday morning. But while speaking to them, Chair, they said that the driver that had agreed to do it had pulled and went on to another job on the Monday morning. But I do believe, Chair, that it's something that we need to raise, because we have children now who are studying for, look, they'll be doing exams before Christmas and after Christmas, GCSEs and stuff like that there. And I have to say, Chair, it's vitally important that these kids get to school. And I know we're on the back of a very difficult year last year with the lockdown and issue, but there's that bit of flexibility the year. And I'm just wondering, is there anyone can give me advice, Chair? Because I think we as a council, we should be writing probably to the Education Authority to find out really what is happening here. And I'm wondering, Chair, is there a mechanism to fast track this? Because I do believe we have to work with, as fast as we can here to try and get an answer to what is happening and what's going to happen over the next number of weeks. And I know if we wait to full council, we have lost a lot of time. So I'm wondering, is there any possibility that we can ask council officers to write, or even our chief executive, or even maybe through the mayor's office, that we write immediately to the Education Authority to get an answer on this? So I'm happy to take advice, Chair, but I just wanted to raise that issue, and I think it's a very, very valid issue. And once again, thank you for allowing me to raise it.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Morris. I'm going to bring Stephen in just to make a comment and that maybe suggest a way forward.
Thank you, Chair. And obviously, as mentioned, it's maybe not a matter for this committee, but I appreciate the urgency of it. So I'm happy to take it up with the Chief Executive in the morning, and either a letter on behalf of the Chief Executive or a letter on behalf of the Mayor, if members are happy, if that's appropriate. We can send a letter off in advance of full council and hopefully have a response back for then. That's if everyone's content.
Just to come back in, thank you, Stephen, for that very much, and I appreciate very much. And if it needs a proposer that needs to be done, I am very, very happy to propose what Stephen has just said is there.
Okay, and I'll second that. So that's that issue moved on. So thanks very much, Alderman Morris. Unless there's any other speakers, I'm going to move this on then onto item 6. Which is matters arising from the Business and Culture Committee held on the 14th of September. Can we have a proposer for accuracy?
So proposed, Alderman Devaney.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Farrell is seconded. Is there any matters arising? Okay. Alderman Hussey first. Is on first there.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not a member of committee, so I appreciate the opportunity to come in. It's on item 146, and it's on page 6, and it refers to the funding reference to Christmas events, and it's really an issue around funding of events, and it's more particularly to do with the upcoming Halloween events. And I'm wondering, is it possible to have a rough idea of the amount of funding and allocation of that funding and what groups are actually involved? And the reason I'm asking this is that the event, which had traditionally become the opening event of all of the Halloween events, I understand will now not take place this year. And the reason we're told it will not take place is that the group who organised that before, in conjunction with council officers, have withdrawn and will not be undertaking the event. That's the Apple Fair in Castleberg. I'm further told that another group was approached, but they declined. And they declined on the basis that there was no funding available to this event. Now, we know that there are thousands being spent on Halloween events, but for some reason or other, no funding would be available to this opening event, which had been in place. There may have been a group prepared to come in and rescue what is the opening event of, or has traditionally been the opening event of the Halloween event calendar. I have to say I'm extremely disappointed and indeed angry that that is the case. And you know, with regard to the events, Halloween events throughout the city, etc., as far as I know, they don't depend on a group coming in to assist. Council officers take this on themselves. So in this particular occasion, whilst a secondary group may be prepared to come in next year, could council officers not have found some funding and done something themselves to rescue what has become the opening event of the Halloween calendar? As I say, I'm extremely disappointed to the point of anger. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Alderman Hussey. Does Aidan want to deal with that?
Yeah, happy to come back. Just on, I suppose, a point of clarification, the Castledare Gapple Fair is not a council event. It's been included in the council programme, and in previous years, council officers have worked with the organisers wherever they could to enhance that activity. But in the absence of a group to take that event on, we don't have funding to allocate. We procure the majority of the programming for Halloween across the city and district, predominantly the international festival that happens here in the city and the fireworks and other activities that happen in Strabane. So there isn't a funding programme as such. There is funding available, which we've made all the groups aware of under the Community Festivals and the Headline Events Fund, should a group wish to apply for funding. And we have made the groups in Castledare who are responsible for the Castledare Gapple Fair aware of that. It's not possible for council officers to take this on, I'm afraid, because at this time of year, we are incredibly stretched. And particularly from a safety aspect, we don't have the ability to take on the ownership of a full separate event, irrespective of the budget that would be required. So unfortunately, that is the case. And we are happy to work with groups in advance for next year, particularly as the grant aid, as you'll know, there's a report in today to open that grant aid. So that is available, and we'll be very supportive of groups coming forward to organise that. And there are opportunities if they're a group that own and manage and look after the Apple Fair. There are opportunities for them to become part of the wider programme, for us to enhance some of the programme, and certainly we can have those discussions. But it has always been on the basis that it is a separate event, and we have given it prominence in the programme because I suppose that alleviates some of the pressure on the event itself in terms of the marketing, and it's always front and centre. But we do not have the capacity to take on that event at the moment in the absence of what I would say would probably be additional safety staff and additional programming staff.
If I may, supplementary, Chair.
Okay, briefly.
A very brief response.
We've all our items, so we've all
I certainly appreciate that, but I'm sure you will appreciate, Chair, the importance of particular events in local areas. I'm still disappointed, Chair. I believe that contact perhaps should have been made earlier with the original organisers so we knew where we're at, and perhaps something could have been rescued on this. But as far as I know, the whole thing just came about within this last month, which of course then precludes any group from seeking that additional funding about which the officer is referring to. Trusting that early contact will be made with groups in the area and this can be revived, but very disappointed this year. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair, and it's item B145. So everybody will be well aware at the last committee there were no attendees from the Economy Department. So you'll be surprised to hear that I'm not going to talk about their non-attendance. I'm not going to talk about Invest NI. I'm not going to talk about the economic outlook of this council area. I've got a question about a different responsibility of the Minister for the Economy. Namely the business case for DNA. or the Maritime Museum at Ebrington. The Department of the Economy have taken the lead to get this through government to approve the economic appraisal and the business case. And we're informed in May that that was submitted or was due to be submitted. I think everybody's aware that it's nearly a £12 million project that's going to breathe life in the Ebrington. It's going to create an amazing tourist attraction for visitors and citizens alike. And it was anticipated that the bid had gone into the Department for the Economy in conjunction with the Executive Office and DFC, and that we were expecting, or we were hoping for white smoke by September. So my question is, have we had any feedback from the Department for the Economy on the economic appraisal or business plan for Derry North Atlantic? And if so, have we received formal letters of offers? Thank you.
Okay, Stephen, you want to?
Thank you, Chair. So yes, the business case is in with TNI, the sponsoring body through DFE. So DFE will be the government department, and Tourism NI will be the body that will look at it. So the questions have been going backwards and forwards, as is typical with these business cases. So nothing is causing us a concern as such. So we just have to answer the questions. So we're probably slipped a couple of months in terms of time frame. So they're now looking to put it to what they call casework in December, with a view to DFE signing it off in January. So that is the timetable we're working to. At that point in time, then it goes to DOF, and that's where the entire business case will be looking for funding. But the key dates now are December and January in terms of sign off.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Are you looking to come back on there, Councillor Farr? No.
I'm happy with that response.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephen.
Right, there, just to say to Councillor Harkin and Councillor Jason Barr, their attendance has been noted in the chat box. There's no other indicated speakers on matters arising, so I'm going to move on to item 7, and I think that's Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to update you on a live careers event being held by Foresee Your Future, which is a not-for-profit community interest company for around 350 age 13 post-primary students, and they seek your approval in co-funding this event. Members will be well aware that a key priority within this council area is around education and skills. It's obviously something that's highlighted at this committee time and time again. One specific area within the skills agenda is around careers advice and guidance. Young people need to be equipped with the tools with which to ensure that they're able to be competent at matching their skills and experience to future potential careers. It's extremely important, no more so now, with the NI and island-wide economy experiencing serious skills shortages and a higher than average youth unemployment rate. In particular, the various education groups and subgroups within the Strategic Growth Partnership are focusing on embedding entrepreneurship and creativity within all learning opportunities in collaboration with the appropriate agencies, and trying to promote the importance of educational pathways. So this event will promote and encourage entrepreneurship and creativity throughout the activities. It'll enhance and give an opportunity for industry to engage in careers advice and give practical, specific and relevant advice to the young people who attend around educational pathways. The aim of the live event is to enable those young people to make a more informed subject choices as they progress on to their GCSEs, A-levels and further afield. The target group is 13-year-olds for this event, and the young people will take part in a range of interactive games and work-based skills challenges intended to draw out and identify their own key strengths. The Foresee Your Future event itself has been scheduled for the 24th of June. The Foyle Arena has been picked as the venue, as it is the only venue within the district which has the capacity to deal with an event of this scale. The event will be open to all 16 post-primary schools within the council area. And a big focus from us, from our perspective as a council, is encouraging the Foresee Your Future event that it really engages with our local employers to try to get as much engagement as possible. This event is a follow-on from a successful pilot that was held in 2019 at Jordanstown, and it's great to see it coming to the Northwest. The pilot will be supported by over 120 volunteers from 30 cross-sectoral companies. So from a financial perspective, the implementation and related activity for this council associated with Foresee Your Future is expected to be about £8,000, which will cover venue hire, transportation, equipment, furniture and hospitality. And the recommendation is obviously to note the work of the skills partnership within the whole area of careers advice and guidance, and to approve the funding of £8,000 towards the Foresee Your Future live event.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Councillor Logue.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Kevin. This certainly is to be welcomed, and I'd like to propose this item. It looks very ambitious, and it's great for the event to be held in the Northwest this time around, especially in the Foyle Arena, and hopefully that note all post-16 schools have been invited, so I hope we all work very hard in our own capacities to ensure that there is a huge attendance at that, and hopefully from the employer side too, and it will bring valuable information both in career choices and maybe entrepreneurship to the young people of our council district. So thank you for that, Kevin.
Thank you, Councillor Logue. Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair. Back in my day, you didn't get this sort of careers advice at all. You get 10 minutes when you were selecting your A-levels at the college. So I think this is an important intervention which demonstrates our council's commitment to assisting young people when they're making choices about future subjects, and making choices about careers, and making choices about their future. And everybody knows we're trying to build a knowledge-based economy focused on health and life sciences, advanced manufacturing, digital industries, creative industries. So it's important that we have the skills locally to capitalise on those emerging opportunities. And as Kevin said, I think it's important that local industry and local employers are involved in this process, so the young people are aware of the skill sets that are required to gain employment in those industries. So I'm happy to second this proposal. I think it's an excellent and innovative idea. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Devaney.
You, Chair, for allowing me in, and look, our party has no problem in supporting this recommendation. We think it's very, very worthwhile, and delighted to see something coming to the Northwest. We always cry about everything in the East, but at least we've got this one, and well done to everyone. And it's good to see, look, we're going to have 16 post-primary schools there, and probably as previous speakers have said, Chair, it's vitally important that we have our businesses there. You know, they are the employers. And you know, I think it's a good mix to have the schools there, and you know, that will be good career advice for those young ones that are attending it. And you know, we're making choices for their future now, and I've always said it, Chair, that it's important that we get it right at this age, that when they're going through their school years, that you know, they know the jobs that are coming when they're finished, because skills base has changed over decades, and as previous speakers said, we're in different technology now, and it's important to have all that relevant information out there for young people. And once again, Chair, we have no problem with supporting the recommendation. Well done.
Okay, thank you. I have no further indicated speakers, and in the items being proposed and seconded, so I take it that has passed unanimously. So we can move on to the next item, item 8, and I think it's 18 is taking this paper.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to inform you of a letter of offer received from the Arts Council of Northern Ireland for the delivery of an arts and older people project, and to seek your approval for an allocation of approved budget resources to meet the remaining project costs. The Arts Council have approved funding support of £9,000 for an older people focused project entitled The Heart of the Sperrins. This project will target older residents in the rural council area that focus on the Faughan, Sperrin and Derg wards. This target segment and these geographical areas are identified within the Northwest Audience Development Research Report as being underrepresented in terms of arts and culture engagement. The project has already secured the endorsement of the Derg Local Area Partnership and will shortly be presented to the other relevant local area partnerships. The project will complement the activities outlined in the Northwest Development Plan and will be designed to address feelings of isolation, loneliness and stress felt by older people, feelings which have been exacerbated as a result of the COVID crisis. It's envisaged the project will engage up to 128 participants in a 6-month programme across a range of art forms. The exact nature of the creative interventions will be determined by the specific needs of the participating individuals and groups. The focus will be on providing access to those art forms that the Northwest Audience Development Research identified as having lower engagement for the 65+ age group. Some of them are outlined in the report. The project will be delivered within those rural areas of the district identified to have lower levels of arts and culture engagement as outlined in the Northwest Audience Development Research Report. There are no other significant issues, and the total project has been costed at £13,000 with a budget of £9,000 from the Arts Council, and it's proposed that the remaining £4,000 be met from the members' approved arts development budget. And members, you're asked to approve acceptance of this letter of offer from the Arts Council and to approve the allocation of the required match funding from approved budgets.
Okay, thank you, Aileen. Your declaration of interest has been noted, Alderman Hussey and Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, for Amelia, and I will declare an interest in the Sperrin Local Growth Partnership. But Chair, I have to say I welcome the recommendation coming forward here, and anything to do anything for our older community out there, or senior citizens, or whatever I want to call them. And I'm just laughing. Aileen said over 65s. I'm nearly touching that age myself, so I could nearly be included in that group. But Chair, it's good to see the recommendation coming forward, and I have no problem in proposing the recommendation here. I think it's money well spent. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a seconder for that? There's no further. Okay, Councillor Logue. Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair. We in the SLP welcome the funding announcement from the Arts Council for rural areas across our district. And I'm going to raise something in relation to the Arts Council that are raised at full council. And it's specifically the response from DFC regarding the motion about regional disparity in terms of Arts Council funding across the north. I think everybody's well aware that organisations across our city and district get about 9% of the funding that organisations in Belfast got, and we had written to the Minister to convey our concern around the process that has resulted in organisations locally getting shortchanged. And I had raised at full council that we need to respond to the ministerial response. I note that the response welcomes the opportunity to discuss the content of the motion with members, and I note that the person that sent it said they would be in touch in due course. So my question is, have DFC been in touch to arrange a meeting with this council? And if not, I would propose that we contact them to invite them to a future meeting of Business and Culture to understand in detail their plans to address that regional disparity. Thank you.
Okay, who wants to take that?
Yeah, happy to. I know that we have had a response from the letter regarding the previous notice of motion. It didn't exactly take us up on our invitation. The letter indicated that there would be work done by the department to develop an arts and culture strategy, and they would be engaging with local authorities. But I think we're probably happy to take that as a motion to follow up on that letter and reiterate the specific request to attend to this committee if that's what's been asked.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this item again has been proposed and seconded. So again, there's no contrary voices, so I'm taking that as unanimous agreement. So if we can move on to item 9, I think it's yourself again, Edie.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So members, the purpose of this report is to update you on plans to mark the 90th anniversary of the landing of Amelia Earhart in Ballyarnett on the 21st of May 2022. You'll be aware of the background to Amelia Earhart. She was the 34-year-old who became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic solo, and she landed in Ballyarnett on the 21st of May 1932. Her historic flight broke 3 records for the aviator, as not only did she become the first female to fly across the Atlantic alone, she also held the fastest flight time over the ocean, as well as being the only person to have flown the Atlantic twice. The 90th anniversary will occur in May 2022 of this historic landing, and you'll be aware that a council motion was submitted in June of this year congratulating local groups involved in ensuring that the legacy of Amelia Earhart's landing is remembered and celebrated for its great stride in female aviation, and for calling on council to work with interested groups to appropriately mark the occasion. Previous activity, you'll be aware that Council's museum service continues to promote and highlight the important aviation story of Amelia Earhart, and through its collections, exhibitions and events. And the story is told in the Tower Museum as part of the story of Derry, and a model of her Lockheed Vega is on display in the City of Derry Airport. In 2017, the Amelia Earhart Legacy Association launched their plans to celebrate the 85th anniversary of her landing, and the museum service supported these plans by the loan of artefacts and the setup of an exhibition in the Guildhall in May of that year. On the 1st of December 2019, this group also organised, as part of a mayoral event, to unveil a plaque dedicated to Amelia Earhart on the former Northern Counties building. This was followed by a mayoral reception. More recently, she has been celebrated during RTE's Her Story events in 2020, which celebrated the role of females in history. Images of Amelia Earhart were projected onto the exterior of the Tower Museum as part of this event. 2021 saw the creation and delivery of a bespoke Amelia Earhart signature tourism story in the new Visit Derry tourist office at Waterloo Place. This positioning firmly puts the story of Amelia Earhart and her connections to the city right at the heart of our tourism and heritage offer. The museum service have planned a programme of activity for May of this year for the 90th anniversary that includes a temporary exhibition of objects and archives loaned and from the collection will go on display at the Tower Museum. They plan a series of on-site and online, depending on restrictions and participant, lectures linked to females in aviation, Amelia's story and objects linked to the history, and a series of online and on-site educational workshops for schools and families to include aviation-themed activities. Following the notice of motion, council officers coordinate a meeting on the 24th of September with interested community groups and cultural organisations and individuals to get a sense of what plans might be in place to mark this significant anniversary. A number of groups have activity planned, and officers outlined proposals to coordinate a comprehensive programme of activities under one marketing plan. The imminent funding opportunities for events within the council area were also highlighted as the best route to secure funding for any events associated with the weekend. Further meeting is scheduled where details of the online portal and wider marketing plan will be shared. All groups will be communicated with regarding the funding opportunities. Costs for the museum events will be provided by the annual museum programming budget, and the wider marketing coordination budget can be accommodated within the existing marketing resource and budgets. Members, you're asked to note the content of the report and to approve the plans set out for the commemoration of the 90th anniversary of the landing of Amelia Earhart in the City and District.
Okay, thank you, Aidan. First indicated speaker is Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in, and thank you, Aidan, for the report. I have to say it was a really interesting report, and it's good to see the amount of stuff that has previously taken place within the council area, linking ourselves with Amelia and keeping that history alive. So that it's good to see that detail there. In terms of the events, I do look forward to what we have planned. I really look forward to seeing what the other groups who have been working on Amelia Earhart events for a very long time and have that history and that connection with it. I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring forward in terms of their detailed programs. I think that's going to be an exciting element of it. I also have been in touch with another group. Their name is Amelia Skyrays. They are based in America. They do a lot of humanitarian and educational work, but they are planning as well a Skyrays, obviously, in terms of it's a group of female pilots. and they do a lot of work around the legacy of Amelia Earhart, and they are planning a sky race themselves in terms of the 90th anniversary, and I think they intend to start that around the 4th of June. But they have been making contact with myself in relation to having some sort of transatlantic flight landing in Derry in and around the anniversary. I think that if that could be explored by council officers, that would be something that may be an exciting event that we could also add to the programme of events. I'm happy enough to liaise with yourself, Aideen, to give you the details of that. But all in all, I'm excited around the programme, and particularly around some of the community groups that have been doing amazing work in relation to Amelia Earhart over many years. So thank you for the update on that.
Yeah, no, happy to, if you want to connect directly with myself, we'll happily pick that up with the group directly.
Is Councillor Cusick?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Aileen. The SLP are happy to support this, and I'm happy to second the topic as well too. On behalf of ourselves, we think that this is only right and proper, the plans that are being put in place to mark the 90th anniversary. And we all know the Amelia Earhart story, and it's now become very synonymous with Derry. And her story is an inspiration to not only young Derry girls, but women absolutely everywhere. And it's only right that we mark her achievements and keep that legacy alive. Just everything that already has been said about Amelia and her achievements and how inspirational she is, but also just want to congratulate the council officers and especially the local groups on the ground who for their continued ongoing projects and tributes to who is essentially like a trailblazer for female empowerment and advancement. And even though it's 90 years ago, our message still comes through today to young women everywhere today that you can achieve, you set your mind to something, you know, you can achieve your goals. And that's a message that we as a council want to keep putting out there and empowering women, and especially young women in our council area. So happy to second that and happy to welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Devaney?
Chair, for allowing me in, and our party has no problem in supporting the recommendation. I think it's very welcome as they come to the 90th anniversary of Amelia Earhart, and I think nearly everyone knows the history of Amelia and the pioneering work that she has done in aviation. And you know, I remember Big Tom back in the 70s brought out a song for Amelia Earhart, the First Lady of the Air, he called her. And look, like the rest of them, I would like to just congratulate the local groups here who keep that history story going. And it's a very broad story, as previously said, even it's a big story even in America. And look, congratulate council officers here on the work that they do along with the groups. And we, as I say, we have no problem in supporting the recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Hussey?
Thank you for permission to come in again, Chair. Can I thank Councillor Duffy for her input there? I think it's actually very forward thinking and exciting. The potential of bringing in flyers from the United States, particularly at that particular time, and I hope that is something that Councillor Duffy and officers can follow up on. I suppose the important aspect, as far as Amelia Earhart was concerned, was actually landing. So it's appropriate that things will happen on the ground. But the in-flight of that group of female pilots gives the opportunity for something to happen in the air. And I wonder if officers are considering an expansion of the aerial part of the commemoration celebrations. You know, whether it's I don't know, various display air outfits that are available, from the red arrows at the very top right through to others, so that something would happen in the air as well as on the ground. And actually, Alderman Devaney there gave me another connection that could fall in. You know, Big Tom was writing a song. Perhaps there's the opportunity for a musical aspect to the overall celebrations, but certainly something that is going to brighten up the overall presentation of the city and district very, very welcome, but extremely interested in Councillor Duffy's connection there with that group of female players. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Hussey. I'm sure Aileen will take on board your comments. Again, I got item, sorry, apologies. Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to echo the sentiments of everybody else regarding the feats and the achievements of our adopted dairy girl. But I do remember when this motion was raised at council, there was a number of speakers that were saying that there was like a deficit when it came to a permanent legacy for Amelia Earhart. Obviously, if we had some sort of signature tourism program, it would be a massive draw for tourists specifically from America. And I know we've got elements within the Tower Museum. I know we've got the model at City of Derry Airport. I know it's featured in the new tourist office, but have there been any discussions or are there any plans in place to have like a one-stop shop for Amelia Earhart? Because I know we've got the Amelia Earhart Centre in Ballernet, which has been closed for a number of years. So have there been any discussions about a physical building that tells the Amelia Earhart story? Thank you.
Okay, Aileen, you want to respond to that anyway? Or?
Not to date. I think it's probably something that would be a nice idea. I think maybe to go back to your previous queries around the business case and DNA, I would say let us get that over the line before we start a new centre. I think we're very keen that the Amelia Earhart story features prominently in any of the story and the interpretation that we're doing around the history and heritage of the city and district, and that's exactly why the story does feature at the City of Derry Airport. It does feature strongly in the Tower Museum, and it does feature strongly in the new world-class visitor information centre that we've opened. I think possibly that's probably a better way that she's commemorated and the story is commemorated and the significance of the story to this part of the world. And certainly she will feature to a certain degree in the new museum as well. So you know, I personally I would be dubious about whether there's merit in a full-scale one-stop shop. I think you know, I think it's probably much more appropriate that she continues to be very much part of the story and very much part of the story of emerging visitor attractions and history and heritage product that we're developing.
Okay, thank you, Aileen, for that. There's no further indicated speakers and the items being proposed and seconded. So again, no contrary voices, so that seems to have passed unanimously. Sorry, I'll bring in Alderman Guy, but I'm quite late, but go ahead.
Chair, apologies for getting in so late. No, I just noted what Alderman Hussey had put in the chat box there about a mural. Perhaps maybe council could look at commissioning a mural. Seems to be the only thing nowadays to do. So perhaps something like that, telling the history of Amelia Earhart, might do well for the anniversary.
Okay, that's noted. We're happy to look. Officers get looking on that. Okay, so I'm moving on then to item 10, and I think that's 18 again.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. So remember, the purpose of this report is it's quite a lengthy report, so I'll try and summarise it to the salient points, but it's to seek your approval for the full retention of the budgets allocated to the Access Improvement Programme, the Heritage Animation Programme, the Headline Events Funding Programme, the Community Festival Funding and Artist and Cultural Practitioner Awards for the financial year 22-23. And to secure your approval for an increase in the cultural organisation funds for 22, 23 and 23 and 24. And to approve your approval in principle of the continuation of the proposed subvention programmes for one-off national events. You'll be aware of these are our annual cultural grant aid programmes, and this is the paper that we bring to you every year about this time to just seek your approval to open those funds, which we hope to do this week. They're all linked, as you know, with our tourism and arts and culture strategies, which are outworkings of the strategic growth plan. And it's on enabling the cultural sector to contribute to the revitalisation of our civic spaces and improvement and well-being within our communities are key factors in those funds. The Heritage Animation Programme is focused on the delivery of an animation visitor servicing programme, specifically targeting the participation of heritage venues within the council area. The total available fund for 22-23 will be £70,194.25, with just under £13,500 of that having been earmarked to support the cultural organisations costs for heritage venues, as detailed further on in the report. The Headline Events Fund includes strategic cultural and sporting events of significant scale. And based on the previous budget, the total available resource for this fund should be £205,000. With of that 30,000 earmarked for sporting events. Community Festival Funds, you'll be aware, is focused on local festivals and allows them to apply for up to 5,000 to support events of up to 500 attendees and up to 10,000 for events that can attract up to 1,000 attendees. Based on this current year's budget, the resource available should be around £116,200. This total consists of a potential contribution of £30,200 from the Department for Communities based on this year's contribution and £86,000 from the council budget. It's proposed for 22-23 that a similar approach be adopted based on the revised process for 21-22 to account for the COVID environment. If an organisation is able to meet its objectives outlined in their original application, they can draw down 100% of the funding. If due to changeable COVID restrictions, they need to move to a more online remote delivery, they can draw down 75%. So I suppose we're not anticipating that to be the case, I think, but if restrictions move on the current basis, we're just asking for your permission to adopt the principles that we applied this year to that fund. The National Event Subvention Programme provides a standardised mechanism for the assessment of one-off opportunity events, which will require the generation of a specific council paper in each instance. Based on this year's budget, this total resource available for this should be about £35,000. Regarding the Access Improvement Programme Fund, in previous years, this fund resource has been supplemented by external funds from the Department for Communities and the Public Health Agency. It's envisaged that further external support will be sought to support the delivery of this round of the Access Improvement Programme. The Artist Award Programme has been created to fulfil Action 2K under Aim 2 of the Arts and Culture Strategy, which was to create a dedicated fund for independent artists and theatre makers and arts organisations. In November 2021, members, you approved the adjustment of the Cultural Organisation Fund from an annual programme to a 3-year cycle. The awards approved for 21-22 will therefore be continued in the second year of the cycle. So based on the awards allocated for 21-22, the total value available eligible arts organisations applicants to that fund is £195,303 against an available budget of £192,000. The total value of funding contribution for heritage organisations sought from the Tourism Development budget is £13,405.75 against an available budget of £83,600. The remaining just over £70,000 of the Tourism Development budget was allocated and will be allocated to the Heritage and Animation Fund. The Heritage Animation Fund, as you know, has been utilised in the delivery of online programming for the heritage sector during lockdown, and it's proposed the 22-23 programme will continue to focus on the development of programming that engages visitors in these unique venues. The Headline Events programme was significantly adjusted in 2021 as a result of the pandemic. Officers and its cultural partners have experimented over the last number of months with different models that adhere to social distancing guidelines. It's been a very informative process and some great successes, including the recent Carnival of Colours festival programming within the city, which was programmed alongside the inaugural Cathedral Quarter weekend. The emphasis has been on the animation of our civic spaces as a means of re-engaging our citizens in the city and town centre and generating footfall. The continued investment in and utilisation of our local festival providers will contribute to the ongoing sustainability of this vital part of the cultural sector. It's also proposed for 22-23 that we continue the revised assessment scoring approved in November 21, with qualitative community-based outcomes being the focus. It's also proposed that the minimum spend on the event be placed back up to £50,000. We had reduced this during the pandemic to 30,000 and the minimum number of attendees return from 500 to 1,000. This will remain under review, subject to any potential restrictions that may be in place. Community festival funds, as with headline events, saw a fundamental adjustment to programmes. With experience gained, officers are keen to re-engage with community festivals to plan for delivery in 22-23. The importance of community festivals play a significant role in bringing communities together, building social cohesion, etc. With the National Events Subvention Programme, it's proposed for 22-23 we maintain the existing application process, which you'll know involves generating a specific paper that's brought back to members with a specific assessment for this fund. It's proposed the Access Improvement Programme be rolled out on the basis agreed in November 21. And as I said, officers will continue to try and secure external support for that programme from the Department for Communities and the PHA once the assessment has concluded. The Artist and Cultural Practitioner Awards have proved an invaluable support to our creative community in what has been extremely challenging times. The programme for 22-23 will focus on securing new entrants to this programme and further developing the capacity of our local artists. The proposed cultural grant aid programmes are drawn from member-approved rates-based budget. Community festival and access programmes, as I've outlined, are supported from external sources. Based on the awards allocated for 21-22, the total value of eligible arts organisations will be 195 against an available budget of 192. Community festivals, it should be noted that in 2021, DFC did not make any contribution towards community festivals. However, they did contribute this year. And at this time, there's no confirmation of a potential contribution from DFC. You're asked members to approve the retention in full of the cultural grant aid budgets as detailed above, to approve the increase in the Cultural Organisations Fund up to 195,303, to approve the retention in full of the subvention programme for one-off national events, and to allow officers to adjust programmes accordingly in light of any additional emerging pandemic restrictions, subject to consultation with the Culture Members Working Group and bringing back to members for approval retrospectively.
Okay, thank you, Aileen. First indicated speaker, Councillor Loke.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Aileen. I'd like to welcome this report and propose it as well. I think it's only right that we should enhance the amount of money given over to these programmes, as they have all proved invaluable during the recent months. And I know within the local areas that they managed to lift the spirits of a lot of the residents within those areas. Hopefully we can get back to the 100% and that there won't be any restrictions at the time of delivery of these programmes. I do hope that the Access Improvement Programme, that money comes through, because it was invaluable to a lot of premises throughout the council district, and it allowed them to engage a wider audience. So I would again just like to thank you for the report and welcome the item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair. The SDLP fully supports the retention of the budgets for the cultural grant aid programmes. We invest about £750,000 a year to support and sustain our cultural sector. And I think it's a massive vote of confidence in our local partners' ability to deliver exciting events and fantastic festivals which entertain locals and visitors alike. But let's be clear and let's be honest that our local partners could deliver a lot more if there was more support from central government, more support from DFC and more support from the Arts Council. So I do think it is incumbent upon us all to fight the good fight for the arts and culture sector locally, and to make the argument for increased support when the Department for Communities and hopefully the Minister turns up at this committee. So I'm happy to second the proposal. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in. Our party has no problem in supporting the recommendation. Thank Aileen for bringing forward a very in-depth report here, and as previous speakers have said, these types of events are the heart of our council area and bond communities together. And it just has to be welcome, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Hussey.
Thank you for allowing me in again, Chair. It's really just a very brief comment. Welcome the report and that funding is going to be available. And I think to highlight something that we all know, the issue of a lack of capacity and officer support in the rural areas, which council is intending to address. But obviously that lack of capacity does impact on funding applications. So I hope that that's something that will be taken on board going forward. And I suppose just one wee query, when we talk about national events, I mean, we're talking about very large scale events and events that are probably already within the psyche. I mean, I'm thinking in terms of Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee, which occurs in 2022. Would that sort of event qualify within the national events criteria? Thank you.
Go ahead, Aidan, if you want to respond to that.
If there's a group who want to organise an event of any description, I mean, we are happy to assess it and bring a report to members. The national events is a one-off thing. You'll be aware that previous recipients or things, they're not Indigenous events to the region. They're events primarily that will particularly generate significant amount of media coverage, of international media coverage. So previous recipients have been things like the Ulster Rally, the Cricket International Series that was held earlier this summer. Was the main recipient that was awarded earlier this year. Primarily, members will be aware that scored very highly because of the international media coverage. So, but that again, they're applicants, they're third-party organisations who apply to us for a subvention to encourage events coming. So, if there's a group, I mean, I'm sure we can happily assess if there's a group bringing forward any event, and we're happy to bring that to members.
Okay,
Thank you, Aidan. Thank you, Chair.
This item's been proposed and seconded, and again, I'm not hearing any contrary voices to that. And Alderman Ramsey, your attendance has been noted. So, when I move on to item 11, 18 again, please.
Thank you, Chair. So members, the purpose of this report is to seek your approval for the proposed programme to celebrate Disability Awareness Week this year, including International Day of People with Disabilities. The Access and Inclusion Project, you'll be aware, is a legacy from the City of Culture year in 2013. Council's Access and Inclusion Project commenced in 2014 with a dedicated coordinator appointed in December 2015. It was originally supported by the Public Health Agency, and this role has now been mainstreamed with a focus on supporting the Business and Culture Directorate. The Access and Inclusion Project has the core objective of reducing barriers and increasing opportunities for participation in business and cultural activity and practice for our pan-disability community. The project supports the objectives set out in Council's corporate plan, outlined in the report. One of the key actions within the plan is the coordination of a programme of events to celebrate Disability Awareness Week NI. This is a 6th annual celebration coordinated by Council, and it's proposed the programme will be a mix of online and face-to-face events to comply with any current guidelines. Officers are working closely with colleagues in Fermanagh Omagh District Council for the compilation of the programme to achieve maximum value for money and engagement. The programme will include events, workshops, performances and key speakers during the week the 23rd of November to the 3rd of December, and will be inclusive of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities on the 3rd of December. The aims of the week are outlined in the report, and this year's Disability Week will embrace the theme of access all areas, and as such will cover the themes outlined in the report, such as health and wellbeing, social enterprise, creativity, sustainability and accessibility. A small-scale grant aid programme will be administered in order to secure external content for the week, and applications will be sought from arts, culture and disability-led organisations in the creation of online content for the programme. It's envisaged this content will be pre-recorded and allocated a scheduled slot on Council's website and social media channels between Friday the 26th November and Friday the 3rd. The total budget allocated to this grant aid scheme will be 5,000, with the maximum award for an individual capped at 500. The project will be delivered in partnership with Fermanagh Omagh District Council and be designed to be accessible to the pan-disability community, including those resident within rural areas of the district. The total budget is 10,000. The cost associated with the week, including the International Day of People with Disabilities, will be met by the PHA. That's Public Health Agency, and members are asked to approve the acceptance of the letter of offer from the PHA and the delivery of the Disability Week celebration as set out, including the rollout of the associated grant aid programme.
Thank you, Aileen, again. Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, and our party have no problem in supporting the recommendation. We would welcome it very, very much here, and thank Aileen for bringing forward the presentation here. I always say, Chair, that anything that raises awareness about people out there with disabilities and improves the health and well-being of their day-to-day life and sharing their stories. These are very interesting programs, and I think the themes cover a lot of the issues. I think they're very, very important themes, and it's good to see that our council is reaching out to those our citizens of the council area who have disabilities, and it's good to hear that rural people with disabilities will be included as well. But happy to propose it, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Devaney. Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and we welcome plans for Disability Awareness Week 2021, and indeed this year is a very important year, so I think we shouldn't just go through the motions. This is not a good time for people living with disabilities. Awareness is one thing, but what we need is action. And as people know in this council, the disgusting universal credit cut will hit people with disabilities very, very hard. And in fact, the Tories brushed aside protests and appeals by campaigning organisations representing people with disabilities. They brushed aside disability campaigners themselves. And I think that this is that's what we have to be aware of. So there's all this talk about building back better. We're not building back better. Things are actually getting worse for people. They're getting worse for people living with disabilities. And that's why it's very, very frustrating to come to this meeting and hear waffle about helping people. What we need is the Stormont executive to now be agreeing that they're going to fund the universal credit uplift. And it was very disappointing to hear from both First Ministers that buts and buts and buts when it came to actually doing this. If we want meaningful action to help people living with disabilities, it is about funding the universal credit uplift. Because otherwise, what are we going to be talking about that week? How people are getting hammered, how people are going to be forced into poverty. We have a lot of people in the north. 1 in 5 people in the north has a disability. A lot of the families in universal credit, some 40% of them have someone in their family with a severe disability or illness. So this is not something that can be brushed under the carpet. And I think we have to urge the executive to actually agree to the urgent demand to fund the universal credit cut. So I think when we're putting together the programme, we have to make sure that these issues are foreground. We have to have speakers who've been campaigning against the universal credit cut, specifically about the impact that it's going to have on people living with disabilities. And I would also request that as part of this, that our council produce a report on the challenges people in our district now face because of this universal credit cut, and indeed because of more broadly speaking welfare reforms that have went before it. Because again, over the last 6 years of this awareness of this funded programme, people's access to the basic means of survival have been reduced. So I look forward to this week. This is going to be a week of protest. It's going to be a week of awareness raising, and it has to be a week. If the executive has not agreed already to reverse to fund the universal credit cut, that we make this week about pushing forward that demand and putting pressure on the executive. this is this is what I've been talking to people about. And I think that that's why this is going to be a great opportunity to really highlight these issues. So that's a couple of requests for the organisers. One, to make sure that if we're talking about health and well-being, we have to talk about how this cut's going to impact people across our district. And then the second one is that we produce a report on how the universal credit cut will impact people in our district in terms of their ability to meet basic financial pressures. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Logue.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Aidan. I'd just like to welcome this item. Having attended previous disability events during Disability Awareness Week, I don't find them very, very useful, and I'd like to assure all members here and those who are in remote that certainly what went on and what was spoke about at those events was certainly not waffle. I did, in my own capacity as a councillor, have to contact the chair of the Disability Forum quite recently, who helped me and somebody within the community with a disability, and a community group who helped immensely. And I am very much assured that the disability forum that we have in this council district are lobbying very, very hard in all the issues that they have in their daily lives. So I would just like to raise awareness of the forum and thank them for their work thus far. Thank you.
Okay, no further indicated speakers. The item's been proposed. Can I have a seconder, please? Okay, sorry, right, top of it. Councillor Logue seconded that. So again, that item has been proposed and seconded, no contrary voices, so taking that as unanimous. So we're moving on to item 12.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to update you on the outcome of the 20th City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival, and also to seek your approval to progress with the programming and promotion of the 21st City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival. You'll be aware the event is a core event in Council's annual event calendar and is a huge showcase for the city and district and its artists over the last 20 years. Over the last 20 years, hosted a combination of local and internationally acclaimed artists, ensuring the festival maintains its reputation of one of the most established and influential music events on the island of Ireland. 2021 marked the 20th edition of the festival, and you'll be aware, due to the ongoing pandemic and the restrictions in place, the festival was delivered for the second time digitally. The online programme centred around the gigs at the Guildhall, which saw 27 local acts performing over 3 days of the festival with a Jules Holland style show, with several hosts presenting throughout 9 virtual slots each day. Over 75,000 views were recorded over the 15 online videos, and messages were received through the weekend from right across the world. All of the festival performances and videos remain available to view on the City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival website and Facebook page. The Northwest Regional College also hosted 3 jazz masterclasses, as well as virtual performances from students of the Music and Performing Arts programme, with members of Ulster's University School of Music also performing. Festival favourites, the Jive Aces, were a big hit on the Friday night, and a special documentary aired on the Sunday was also enjoyed by many, reminiscing on previous festivals. All of this ensured the weekend was very specially marked, the weekend on the city's calendar, and firmly positioned it as a leading jazz festival in Northern Ireland and beyond for 2021. An outdoor visual arts jazz trail also featured during the festival this year, with copies of all 20 previous programmes covers located throughout Guildhall Square and Waterloo Place. To mark the 20th year of the festival, jazz bursaries of £1,000 were awarded to 5 local jazz artists. Due to the volume of applications received and the high calibre of applicants, officers may consider extending this element into the 2022 festival. Marketing officers successfully transformed digital spaces into an interactive online event, creating an online production for the 2021 festival. Marketing activity consisted heavily of digital strategies with the tactical use of influencers. Outdoor radio and print advertising complemented online tactics and reinforced messaging. And the marketing efforts achieved 75,800 video views, along with a 17% increase in YouTube views. Total online social media audience grew by 31%, which will be greatly beneficial when marketing the 2022 festival. So it's proposed that officers begin work on the 22 festival in the same format as the last event pre-pandemic in 2019, if you can remember back that far. All programming for 22 will adhere to any guidance in place at that time, and it will include a schools education hub program, jazz hubs, outdoor music stages, local jazz legends festival opening event in the Guildhall, the DLD second line parade, jazz masterclasses, the music trail hosted in over 75 venues, jazz dance classes, and a headline act at the Millennium Forum, Imelda May, confirmed for the 2nd of May 2022. The National Youth Jazz Orchestra, Tier 1 subvention, that is venues that apply in here to the criteria to be confirmed. Tier 2 subvention open to all venues. In 2019, over 75 venues availed of this subvention. Tier 2 subvention has decreased by 5% each year and was set at 80-20 in 2019, where venues paid 80% of artist fees and council paid 20%. Ultimately, it's hoped this would reach the point where venues would then pay 100% of artist fees. But for 2020, this was due to be 85-15. However, it's now recommended, due to the devastating impact of COVID-19 on the entertainment industry, the split at 80-20 be maintained for 2022 for this year, and with a view to the decrease being picked up again in 2023. Members will remember that there was a plan in place for 2020 to recognise the contribution of Gay McIntyre to the jazz world. After meeting with the family of Gay McIntyre, the City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival planned to introduce the following to the 22 festival to honour Gay McIntyre's contribution to jazz music. The outdoor stage in the Guildhall will now be known during the Jazz Festival as the Gay McIntyre stage and associated programming. The opening event of the festival, which takes place on Thursday, the 28th of April 2022, will be known as Gay McIntyre and Local Legends of Jazz. Cross-community school brass masterclasses hosted by Heavy Beat Brass Band in previous years will now be known as the Gay McIntyre Brass Masterclass, focusing on saxophone skills and all other brass instruments. For the 2022 event, it's proposed that officers work within the existing rates allocation for the festival, which is 120,000. And officers seek your approval now to move forward with the planning for the 2022 event by recommending the following to maximise planning promotion opportunities for the 21st City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival. A subvention budget of 15,000 to allow officers to secure headline acts into conjunction with our Tier 1 venues. Approve the financial contribution outlined in subvention terms for participating venues required to begin planning and promotion of the festival, and to fully support the City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival development. Members, you're asked to note the contents of the report and approve the financial contribution required to begin planning and promotion of the Jazz Festival and to fully support the festival development.
Thank you, Aileen, again. Councillor Raymond Barr.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Aileen, for that report. I'm delighted to see the Jazz Festival returning. Hopefully in all of its form and glory, and I have no problem. 120,000 is a huge slice of the rates pot, but given the revenue the festival generates in the city, it's probably money well spent. However, turning the attention to Strabane, I would hope that in 2022 we will see, in terms of quantity, more events. In terms of quality, the existing events enhanced. For example, before the first lockdown, it was agreed that the St. Patrick's Day Parade would return to the original route, starting on the Melmoud Road to facilitate the 2 nursing homes and the 2 sheltered accommodation units, plus the many residents who line the route. And given that the bids has been approved for further term in Strabane, I would hope funding can be made available to help enhance the events calendar in Strabane. It's something that I would be pushing for in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair. The Jazz Festival is a key event on our cultural calendar, and it's good to see that plans are in place to return to a pre-pandemic format after 2 years in a largely online platform. it is one of the best weekends of the year in this city, and it's right up there with St. Patrick's Day, Halloween and Christmas in terms of buzz and excitement around this city. And it's great to see that my neighbour of 30 years and jazz legend, Gay McIntyre, is going to be honoured with a stage in his name in the Guildhall Square. And obviously, I can't forget that Amelia May is going to be here as well in the forum. So all very positive. So it's exciting news. I would imagine it's going to be an amazing weekend, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm happy to second if it hasn't been proposed. So excellent news and well done to the team. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Hussey.
You, again, for like others, can I congratulate the team on putting together, or beginning to put together, what looks like an extremely exciting and interesting program for the City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival. Like the previous councillor, I also welcome the acknowledgement of the part played by Gay McIntyre within the music industry. I know of several people from Castlereagh who on occasion would have played with Gay, and I had a strange situation once where I managed to play along with Gay myself at a particular function, but that's a long story. Audience development is extremely important throughout this as well, and I'm sure we all agree with that, and the encouragement of jazz as a musical genre. And although this is called the City of Jazz and Big Band Festival, it is a Derry City and Strabane District Council event funded. Mention is made of a music trail of 75 venues. How many of those venues will be beyond the city and indeed Strabane? How many will be, taken to our rural areas to encourage that audience development and an appreciation of the particular music genre? Thank you.
Okay, I have a number of other indicated speakers, and then I'll see if Aileen wants to come back in on that. So, Councillor Logue.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Aidan. I'll be just very brief. I'd like to welcome the report. It's very good report given the circumstances that the festival had to be delivered under. I do note that regarding the bursary, that it is saying that there was 5 bursaries awarded in the 20th year, and that officers may consider extending this element to the 2022 festival. I'd just like to formally propose that happens. I do think that it would encourage a lot of people to maybe take up playing instruments and indeed help them with their studies along the way. So I think that should be incorporated this year and maybe even going forward. So I'd like to formally propose that. It is great. It is a great festival that the city and the council district has experienced. It was a time when you were coming out of the winter and the spring, you knew things were waking up again, and I know it would be great if we could just have a full-scale jazz festival again this year. So just like to welcome that, but also propose the bursary element of it going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm happy to second that if that's required. So, Councillor Harkin.
Chair, yeah, very much welcome the fact that we're going to have a comprehensive jazz festival programme this year, and I think or next year, and people will be looking forward to that. It's been badly missed over recent years, and great work for everybody that is helping to pull everything together. I did want to raise the issue of how we mark the contribution of Gay McIntyre. I've been speaking to his family over the previous weeks and today ahead of this meeting, and they are delighted to see Gay formally recognised in a number of ways through the programme, and as it as it should be, given Gay's massive contribution to jazz and to helping to, initiate the jazz festival here in Derry and in our district. It is still their hope that the festival could be renamed the Gay McIntyre Festival, and I think that they've made that clear to council officers and to other councillors as well. I know that they had a discussion recently with the mayor, who was in their home, and I think that they're trying to figure out what happened to the original proposal. I think it was Eamon McCann who raised the original proposal about naming the festival the Gay McIntyre Festival. I can't remember if there was a paper or something from officers regarding that, but I am passing on the delight that the family has at the recognition that Gay is receiving at the forthcoming festival, but also their hope that the original proposal can be moved on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Aileen, not sure, is there any points you want to pick up on, or are you okay? Okay, Stephen's going to take this.
Sorry, I just come in maybe on the last piece from Councillor Harkin. From memory, and I would need to dig back. I think Eamon made a proposal at committee, but didn't actually follow through with it, kind of as a formal proposal, and asked officers to speak to the family, which we've obviously been doing. Also, there's the formal council naming policy, which we would have to discuss with our colleagues in that section as well before anything could be brought formally to members. So clearly we've been working with the family to make sure Gay McIntyre is formally noted and given the prominence, but in terms of renaming the festival, that would be slightly different. But I would need to double check on the original, go back to the committee. It's probably the guts of maybe 2 years ago, and just to make sure I'm right, but I'm nearly certain that Councillor that Eamon withdrew the formal proposal and just asked officers to look at the options, if you want.
Okay, thanks for that. So again, sorry, Councillor Farrell.
Yeah, I was at that committee in Strabane when we used to have committees in Strabane before COVID. And I remember Councillor McCann raising the issue about how we recognise the contribution of Gay McIntyre to jazz in this city, jazz across this island. I don't know if there was a formal proposal that we name the City of Derry Jazz Festival after Gay McIntyre. I think the proposal was we look at ways to recognise Gay. That was my understanding, but it is 2 years ago, and like Stephen, I'd probably need to do a bit of digging, but that was my memory of the discussion there.
Okay, thanks for that. No further comments on that, right? So that has been proposed and seconded. So that's again passes unanimously. Okay, Councillor Hussey's asked a question, so we'll see if officers can deal with that before we move on here.
Yeah, so I suppose Jazz Festival, the focus on it has always been, I know it's been raised here in previous Jazz Festivals, but the focus of the Jazz Festival really is on the visitors who come primarily like to walk between venues, which is why we focused on, it does focus on the city. There's nothing to prevent a venue from outside of the city applying, and we're happy to put it in the programme. But it does tend to work better as a festival, which is why I suppose our policy has always been to keep it city-based and to look at developing along the lines of what Councillor Barr had said, developing events in the wider district at other times. So, but yeah, happy to look at an application from any venue that wants to be considered.
Okay. That's that item dealt with again, passed unanimously. So moving on to item 13. That's yourself, Steve.
Thank you, Chair. So, members, the purpose of this report is to give you an overview of a research project that the Council is completing in conjunction with Queen's University, and also to inform members of the initial stages of this project where we would like your input too. So over a number of years, we've been working with Queen's to develop a research project, primarily looking in the arts and culture sector, trying to develop the baseline data that we don't have a lot of, or we have some of, but not all of it, in relation to the impact of the events, the impact of right across the council area of the various arts and culture interventions that we make. So having worked over a number of years and scoped out the project, we now have a research graduate who's working on this for the next 3 years. The individual will work closely with council officers to shape the various the research to ensure that at the end of it we're left with a body of research that the council can use and can not only use to inform events going forward, but it can also use in terms of funding applications and provide really useful data for the council. The work will be complementary to obviously the student and look at the expenditure for arts and culture and the opinions on co-related subjects. The survey is the initial survey that we're asking you to complete is in relation to Halloween is relatively short. And following this, if members are in agreement, we'll ask all members to contribute to that and also to promote it. So as we get as wide a response as possible, because the wider the response, the better the research, the better the baseline study. Members will also note that there's a financial contribution to this, which is approximately £5,000 a year for 3 years. Given the nature and the extent of the study, this will be very good value for money in terms of the data that we will receive. So the recommendation is for members to note the contents of the report and hopefully take part in the survey, to encourage others to also take part in that survey and to approve the financial contribution for the overall project. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair. Again, this is an innovative idea. I look forward to reading the research once complete. I think we're all aware of the benefits of a vibrant arts and culture sector. It improves health and well-being. It develops a sense of place and community. It's a source of entertainment, enjoyment, and education. And there are obviously economic and employment benefits. So the outputs of this research are ultimately going to enhance our culture and cultural offering, and that's going to have a lasting impact for people across this city and district. So I'm happy to propose this on behalf of the SDLP, and I'm also happy to fill out the survey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome the recommendation. And I have no problem in seconding the recommendation. I think it's been innovative, as the previous speaker has said, to have this data and get the survey out there. And we all know the importance of the value of the arts and culture. And I do believe this is value for money. We do welcome it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Logue.
I just to welcome that, and if it hasn't been seconded, maybe I just missed it there. I'd just like to second it, and hopefully we will encourage all members to take part in the survey, because the outcome of that survey will help address many of the issues regarding the arts and culture strategy. So I would just like to welcome this item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that had already been seconded by Alderman Devaney. So I've no further indicated speakers in the chat box or in the hall here. So I'm taking that item again as unanimously passed. And moving on to the final item of open business, and item 14, I think it's Aideen again.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to inform you of funding secured to deliver Illuminating the Wall City Festival and to provide an outline of the event plans. Visitor behaviour is evolving with a renewed focus on connecting visitors to our local people, landscapes and culture by captivating them with immersive experiences. In November 2019, Tourism Northern Ireland launched a new experience brand, Embrace a Giant Spirit, which is a pledge to our visitors which promises experience that they recognise as distinctively Northern Irish and which communicate our giant spirit. To support the development and delivery of world-class, well-designed experiences that embody the brand, Tourism Northern Ireland launched a competitive market-led development programme for local authorities in August of this year. The programme aims to provide more reasons to travel to and within Northern Ireland before March 2022 and to enhance and animate the visitor experience for visitors from across the island. The programme outcomes are heavily focused on aligning any activity with the private sector, in particular the hospitality and accommodation sector, as a way of encouraging more opportunities to increase overnight stays and spend. At a local level, both the tourism and arts and culture strategies identify the need to develop the Walled City experience using ambitious and curated animation, and to further develop and grow our evening economy, which are vital if we are to achieve our targets of doubling visitor spend and growing jobs in the sector. Following the major success of Lumiere as part of City of Culture in 2013, it highlighted the requirement for an out-of-season demand-generating experience that will attract visitors from a range of target markets. Officers have secured £451,000 from Tourism Northern Ireland to deliver a 2-week-long Festival of Light entitled Illuminating the Walled City in February 2022. Tourism NI have issued Council with a service level agreement which sets out the following objectives: to attract 92,000 additional visitors, generate 70% bed occupancy, engage with 70+ local businesses and 40+ local artists and venues to deliver the project by the end of February 22. Due to the challenging timelines for delivery, the ambitious targets set by the programme, and following consultations with Tourism NI, it was identified that this event had the best prospects of meeting the objectives of the programme in terms of delivering overnight stays and spend, as well as ensuring a good return on their investment. Its proposed Illuminating the City will run from the 14th to the 27th of February and from 5 to 10 daily. The event will consist of 3 main elements: an illuminated trail of light, installations and animations that will reimagine public spaces across the city, which will stay in place for the duration of the 2-week experience, an intimate music programme embracing the theme of light, a programme of intimate gigs of well-known local artists in unique locations, and a live illumination experiences each weekend of the festival, which will culminate in a trail of live illumination experiences which will turn some of our iconic buildings into spectacular pieces of art. By using a mix of audio, visual, digital media and outdoor projection, we bring some of our iconic buildings to life by telling our original stories through digital animation, innovative design to deliver an experience that will be exciting, engaging, stimulating, informative, fully immersive and unique to this part of the world. Each installation will come alive for 3 to 5 minutes at a time and will be played in a loop to form an illuminated trail within the Walled City. Officers are mindful there still may be a degree of risk to delivering such a large-scale event. We will take into account any restrictions that may be in place at that time and have a crowd-friendly circuit of the city that can accommodate social distancing and considerable footfall and crowd management. Similar to other large-scale events, this programme will be delivered by a range of departments across Council, including festival events, tourism, business and marketing. Officers are also currently scoping the potential for ancillary events to take place across the district to encourage visitors to extend their stay and visit some of the wider experiences as part of the programme. Officers will procure each element of the programme by way of tender or quotation request, subject to our existing policies and procedures. It's also envisaged that officers will invite proposals from local businesses, venues and organisations to offer extended programming which will enhance the visitor experience and form part of the illuminated trails. Learning from events such as Cathedral Quarter Weekend, Halloween and Christmas will prove useful in terms of event planning, business engagement and understanding further how to utilise the city centre streets to maximise economic benefits for business. This investment will ensure that the animation and illumination of streets through the Business Revitalisation and Recovery Programme continues into 2022. Officers are currently tendering for the delivery of the live illumination experience element of the programme. Submissions are sought from suitably qualified and experienced companies to identify a maximum of 6 specific sites and stories to be told by using the city's heritage story plan. The final quantity will be led by the creative design and budget available. As this is a one-off fund and to ensure there is a legacy from the project, Council will have full copyright of the live light shows being developed. These will be reused as part of our ongoing programme of events with the potential of expanding this to the wider city and district as additional funding becomes available. Officers received a service level agreement from Tourism Northern Ireland for $415,000 to deliver this event over 2 weeks. This is 100% funded with no additional budget required by Council. Costs include on-site costs, a programme coordinator to support with event delivery and budget to develop the live illumination shows and animation programme. Marketing costs are not included within the SLA, however we will incorporate into existing destination campaigns. Members, you're asked to accept the service level agreement from Tourism Northern Ireland, therefore approving the proposed outline of the programme. A future report will be brought back to this committee to provide more details on the programme, and it's recommended, members, that you approve the procurement arrangements as set out above and note the contents of the paper.
Okay, thank you, Aidan. Comment on this first before bringing any indicated speakers. Just, like, I'm happy to propose this item as a really exciting development and a new festival to add to the suite of festivals that already operate in the city. I think all of us remember the Lumiere event during the City of Culture year and how successful and impressive it was. And if we can get a festival that is anywhere close to that type of event, then it'll be a major asset to the city and draw on a lot of tourists and a lot of people from outside the city. So it's an excellent development, and I think it's also very timely, coming as a festival that can operate in February time, that sort of quiet period of the year in most cities, just after Christmas and before we enter towards St. Patrick's Day. And particularly at this time, as many of our businesses are trying to build their way back out of COVID, this would be an excellent opportunity to try and assist them in drawing on additional revenue and doing all that the initiative is designed to do. So I really welcome this, and I'm happy to propose it. The next indicated speaker is Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair, and this is genuinely fantastic news. When I read the pack and I read the detail around this proposal, I just thought this is amazing. But there's something magical about Derry on a cold, dark winter's night when you see the buildings illuminated. And personally, I love walking around the city around Christmas when we've got the animation and we've got the trees and we've got the lights, just to see the look on people's faces when they marvel at how beautiful our city is. And I would imagine that if this is as half as impressive as what we do at Christmas, people are going to be over the moon with it. So I think this is fantastic. So well done to the officer team for securing the funding. Well done to Tourism NI for providing nearly £500,000 as well. So I think it's excellent news, and it starts on Valentine's Day as well. So it's a perfect Valentine's gift for my better half. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Farrell. There's no further indicated speakers. I think that's from the previous item. So can I have a seconder for?
I'll second it, Alderman Devaney here, Chair.
Okay, that's seconded. So again, there's no contrary views on this, so that item also passes unanimously, which I'm delighted about. So that takes us on to the items for information, and I'm going to take these as a block. And so if there's any members who want to speak on items 15 to 19, if they could indicate either here in the room or in the chat box. Please give us a second. Okay, people are content enough with that. So that then takes us towards the confidential business. So can I have a proposer and a seconder for one of the confidential? Councillor Farrell's proposed. Can I have a second?
I can second that. Wish Councillor Jason Barr.
Seconded. So can officers now ensure that the cameras are switched off and we'll go on to confidential?